You're listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. Join hosts Matt Trush and Felix Friedberg's heart-to-heart conversations with artists, entrepreneurs, scholars and laymen who, by strengthening their trust in God despite all odds, experience outright miracles. Profound yet practical, inspiring and heart-wrenching, moving true stories of triumph against adversity. Trusting in God can literally save lives. And now, Gate of Trust podcast hosts, Matt and Felix.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Felix.
And this is the Gate of Trust podcast.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Felix. Long time no see. What you got for us? Any jokes?
Yeah, it's been so long since we've recorded. I've just been accumulating all these jokes of just super high quality. So I do have one today. It's awesome and it's timely. I'm not sure. Are you ready? Are you ready for me?
Oh, I'm ready for you. Don't hold back.
All right, I'm not going to hold back. So there was a chassid. He was living in Great Britain, doing all kinds of good work, helping people. It was decided that he would be knighted. This happened not so long ago, Matt. This is pretty recent.
Big honor.
And yeah, it's a big honor. King Charles had him in to the royal palace, Buckingham Palace. It's very fancy, and they have a lot of pomp and circumstance and all kinds of formality, swords and uniforms. So the chassid, he was in the process of being knighted, and he was like, I think I need to say a little something. He couldn't really think exactly what to say, so he said some Hebrew words that came to him. He says, "Ma nishtana halayla hazeh." And so King Charles looked puzzled, and he looked to his courtiers, I guess is what they're called, and said, "Why is this night different than all other nights?"
Felix, I think I felt that one coming.
Yeah, you might have.
Speaking of knights and heroes, we have the resilient Jen Airley, mother of Binyamin, a fallen IDF hero, on today's Gate of Trust podcast.
Jen's son, Benyomin, joined the front lines of the battle versus Hamas to secure the land of Israel and protect the Jewish people, but Benyomin didn't make it out alive.
How does a mother find the strength to go on after suffering such a personal tragedy?
How is Jen tapping into her Emunah and Bitachon, giving inspiration to others?
How does Jen see her son's self-sacrifice as leading to a brighter future for Israel and the Jewish people?
All this and more on today's Gate of Trust podcast with the inspirational Jen Airley. Jen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to kick it off. Jen, can you tell us about the day you got the news?
Ooh, going right for the gold. So Shabbos morning, Parshat Toldot, November 18th. Hey, Kislev, however you want. So Shabbos morning, though, started with, the regular at shul. And right after Kriyat HaTorah, reading of the Torah, I couldn't stay in shul anymore. I just felt like I needed to get out. I came home and just started down and just Tehillim, just kept saying Tehillim, and I'm bawling my 10-year-old, my sweet little Hannah. She just has her hand. She's trying to console me. And then at that point, she gives me a sefer Mitzvot Bitachon. She's like, "Mommy, I think you need this." And so sure enough, I started learning with her some of the gold in there. And anyway, stopped crying and carried on with the day as one does on Shabbos. We even had guests that day. And then later on that afternoon, I went to go take a nap. My husband was sleeping on the couch, fell asleep, and sure enough, there was the notorious knock on the door. There's a very specific knock the army does. And my husband, as soon as he opens up and he sees the soldiers, he said, "Is my son kidnapped?" And he said, "No." He says, "My son wounded?" And he said, "No." So he ran upstairs to get me. And he said, "Jen, you have to come down." And I said, "What?" I was asleep. I didn't even understand why. He was like, No, you have to come down. I said, "Are the kids okay?" And he said, "No." And I couldn't understand, because then why don't I hear sirens? Why don't I hear ambulances or something? He said, just come. And as soon as I opened my bedroom door and I saw the soldiers there, I just said, Baruch Tayin Ha'emet. I literally understood what Vayidom Aaron means. There's no words. And then when I asked them what time it happened, they said between 9:30 and 10:30 was the battle, which was when I left shul. When I obviously realized like that was I wasn't surprised at that point. That was the pain. That was like my heart being ripped out then. I guess that's like the motherly instinct, knowing that your son is fighting for his life, or maybe, we don't know the exact time yet of when it happened, but it was all about there. And that was that Shabbos morning almost 13 weeks ago.
It's amazing the connection a mother has with her son, that you were able to sense that.
Mm-hmm. It's, I don't have any words. I mean, I've heard other people that did feel things. It could be a sibling. It could be, I don't know what to say, but it was very intense.
Jen, thank you for sharing that. You mentioned on that difficult Shabbos that you turned to Bitachon. And since then, I think you've turned many times to the Gate of Trust, to the Shar Bitachon. So why that book? What is it about that sefer that has helped you get through these difficult times?
It's interesting. So I wasn't actually learning Sefer Mitzvot Bitachon. I wasn't learning that. It was just something my daughter took off the shelf. We were in the middle of having, we started learning Shar Bitachon right after the war started, actually. I've been learning for a few years now, Zev David Asher's book, Living Inspired. It's true. We've had chabrusas. So yeah, I've been doing these for months and years, learning these books. And it's been a life journey, though. I can't say it only started 3 months ago or even 3 years ago. It's a life journey. And these books are there to just keep the muscle strong. It's just the constant reminder, constant hearing the same over and over. Hashem's in charge. Hashem does good. Hashem loves us. And then, in some, with more depth, but it's not a new concept. It's just something that we just keep working on and keep training.
We were actually introduced, Felix. We have Howard and Claire Glowinsky to thank.
Yes.
And their cousins, yes. Asaf and Hannah, and their daughter Sari and Ramat Beit Shemesh for connecting us to Jen.
This is the most wild story. Talk about hashgacha prati. This is. I don't know how well aware you are of the background of the story, but right when this lady comes and brings books. Now, I had just gotten out of my car, and this lady is there. I didn't know her. She's there, and she has a brown paper bag. Now, when someone comes with a delivery, it's like, do you open a gift in front of somebody? You don't know what to do, right? It's like an awkward situation. And I was ready to just walk to my house. Now, again, I had just gotten home. So I could have easily missed her. She could have just been here 3 minutes earlier, dropped it off before I got home. The hashgacha is and the fact that I even opened the bag in front of her is another whole level, because what business do I have opening up a gift in front of somebody? But for whatever reason, and then there were these books, and I said, how come you bring? She's like, well, I don't know. My cousin is from Canada, and he just wanted you to have it. And then when I spoke to him the next day, I said, why did you send them? And he just said, this is what we do. We give to families. We print that. You explained the whole background. I said, do you understand that at the Levaya, I had said that I'm learning Sefer Shar Bitachon. And since then, there are no stores all the stores in the area are out of all the Shar Bitachons possible, with English translation. They're all bought out in the whole Beit Shemesh area, basically, because everyone is so desperate to hold on to any form of Emunah, right? And so now I got a beautiful delivery of many books that, please God, we're going to start up now a chavrusa system so people can learn this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I guess, Jen, you're obviously taking action in a very inspired way. So the question is, for the Jewish nation, for the Jewish people, does it take a tragedy for our nation to wake up? What can we do to get more people involved in studying and holding on to these values?
Look, somebody said to me at the Shiva, she's like, I've been learning Shar Bitachon and I'm still struggling. And I said to her, first of all, it's a whole lifetime of struggle. It's not an instant quick fix. It takes years. But I said, did you start learning before because it's somebody who's going through a lot of tzaras. And I said, did you start learning it before the tzaras or after the tzaras? Before you started dealing with the problems and she's like, no, after my marriage, this, and after this happened to my ex. And I said, well, it's really hard to swim upstream. Like, it's really hard to start and get into it and feel it with all your heart when you're already being like pelted. And this is why I tell people, like, study now before you have to deal with even more tragedy, because you have to have the muscles, like every muscle in your body, it has to be strong so that when you need it, you can recruit it, right? This is, obviously it helps even post, but definitely having the refuah before the makkah is the way to go.
That's amazing.
That makes a lot of sense. And then obviously the example is very good, right? If we have something, if we get sick or we have a heart attack and then they say, go exercise, how much better if we had started exercising, 20 years before. So that's a great example.
In the Gate of Trust, I mean, I know you mentioned that you couldn't find the book, and by Hashgacha Pratis, you were able to get a few books, and I think now they've even might have your hands on even more books of Gate of Trust. It's really remarkable that when they decided to print the Gate of Trust, they were deciding, where do we print this? Do we print it in China? Do we print it in America? Right? And they said, we have to print this in Israel. It's a holy book, and it's a holy endeavor, and we have to print it in Israel. And they said, well, it's more expensive to print it in Israel. How can you do that? But they said, this is where it's needed. And lo and behold, so many people have had the opportunity to have solace and strength from the Gate of Trust and from learning from it. Is there anything particular in it that you have found is something that you can turn to, a thought from the Sefer or in Bitachon? What is it that you say to yourself in those trying times?
I think part of my favorite was that we have to try. We have to do our hishtadlut. Right? We can't just like shirk off and say Hashem's going to take care of it. We do have to try, but no matter how much you try, it's only when Hashem wants it. And, even I love when the Sefer talks about even financial issues, right? You think like, okay, so I have my income, but I want more. So I'm going to work more so I can get more. Right? And if God doesn't feel you need more, it doesn't matter if you work, 23 out of 24 hours a day. It's just, so just Shlach al Hashem Yahavcha, like just put it on Hashem. I'm even going to tell you today, this was like, literally this happened this afternoon. I was running late I wasn't running late for a meeting. I was worried I was going to be late for a meeting. And it's one thing when I'm late for myself, but not when I have like other commitments and I'm at the car mechanic and the whole time I'm just feeling like I need to go, please, like release me. I gotta go. And I feel myself like, I'm like, you know what? Hashem, if you want me to be there, it's so healthy to have this attitude when you learn, like, what am I stressing for? Talking about like your muscles, like why would you get a heart attack over stress when like, if Hashem wants me to be at this meeting on time, he's going to take care of it. If Hashem wants, and if it means I'm going to be running in last minute, or if I'm going to be late, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm trying and I can't, but it's brilliant. It's like the best psychology. The psychologists now couldn't even come up with this stuff if they wanted. I mean, it's amazing.
It's definitely the key to a worry-free life and peace of mind and heart. It also, of course, as you said, it helps us deal with difficult times in life, but it also helps us deal with the little things, the car mechanic, the meeting, running late, the parnasa, all these things. When you know that Hashem is running the show, it's a whole different matter. You seem like somebody, or we can see your strength and your bitachon getting through this personal tragedy. But how about others in Israel and others abroad who you're speaking to? How is it that they're struggling with bitachon, and what advice do you give them? Look,
I'm not a preacher. I just try and inspire. There was even somebody who I was talking to families from Shlomit, families from the south that are displaced, and one of I gave shoes to them one night, and one of the ladies came over to me and she says, "Listen, I need you to talk to my friend. She lost her husband." And she, that's it. She stopped covering her hair. She stopped being, wearing skirts. And she says, I said, I can't talk to her. Like, she's entitled to be upset at Hashem. Hashem is a big guy. He can handle that. And she said, no, you have to talk to her about Hashem. I said, no, like, this is between her and Hashem. Like, she's allowed to be angry. And Magiana, I said, is she hurting herself? Is she hurting her kids? No. I said, then let her, she has to find her new relationship. And the fact that she's angry at Hashem, what's that saying? That's the saying. She has a relationship. She's just angry at him. Sada. People cope differently. And you have some people, you have your Hadass Levenstern, who is also just tzadikah with such clarity and wisdom. And then you have people who are not, able to feel that yet. I have a man, we spent Shabbos together, and he was saying how his son, that Shabbos, Parshat Vayeshev, and it was Vayechi, and about Yosef, and his son's name was Yosef, and this is his bar mitzvah parsha. I said, wow, you're so lucky. Your parsha, your son is named Vayechi, and Yosef did this, and he's like, I'm not really holding her. I said, but Yosef is the one that, he says, I'm angry at the army, I'm angry at the government. I said, but your son, this is his parsha, and he's talking about how it's not from anybody but from Hashem. The brothers didn't do it. And he said, I appreciate you saying this, and maybe one day I'll get there. I'm not there yet. So then hold how you need to. I can't, I'm just feeling why he's such a bracha, but if he's not there, everyone has to deal on their own, but it does help when you've studied this before. That's all.
The truth is that the important thing is having the relationship, right? It's one thing if you turn off the light, then that's obviously not the right way to run. But being angry is okay. When you're turning to your Father in heaven and you're saying, listen, it's not fair, it's not right, at least you know where you're turning. Exactly.
Thank you, Jen, for sharing that. Obviously, there's so much in Israel, so much pain, but outside of Israel, the United States, the rest of the world, we're not living in the crucible, but sometimes hearing about your family, your Jewish family suffering is also, for some, can be even worse without being able to do anything. What are your thoughts on what those of us in the diaspora can do in order to strengthen our bitachon and support you and support others in Israel who need our help?
It's interesting because in Israel, right, we're living. We're in pain, but we're living. I mean, not just in the Airley house. Israel in general, right? There are still weddings and we're partying hard. Life is still happening. And these soldiers, they're fighting so that we live life. They're fighting so that we can enjoy Eretz Yisrael. Hamas would win if we would stay home and be broken all day. That's not the point of this. And so I do feel for the people in Chutz La'aretz, people in America, Canada, and everywhere else, that you're seeing the news and you're seeing the devastation, which there is, and seeing the reason to cry. There is reason to cry, but you're not seeing that we're actually living also. And that's what people in Chutz La'aretz are not feeling. Nachon, you're not crying all day. It's true, because you're also working and living your life, but to know that we here are really living life. That's one piece. What can each person do about their Emunah and Bitachon? First of all, come to Eretz Yisrael. And I'm saying that not just because I believe heart and soul that every Jew should be here, but I think that when you do come and you get a taste of the Achdut and how alive the nation is, and to be able to give, not just because you sent packages or sent money but to actually see where it's going and how much people's faces are lighting up when they get it, and the hugs that you can share, that itself is healing. I know it's not possible for everybody to be here. I got it. Maybe I don't, but I understand that. But just understand that there really is life going on here, and there really is joy mixed with pain and joy all at once. I don't know if that answered your question.
Answered the question very well. I think that's the big problem, I would say, that everyone in the West or in America or Canada or wherever we might be say, it's such a difficult life in Eretz Yisrael. How can we be there? But someone like yourself and all the millions of our brothers and sisters living in Israel who are living in Eretz Yisrael, that it's almost that is true life. That's the Vayechi that we were talking about. That in Eretz Yisrael, and the heroes and the soldiers who are out fighting for it deserve our greatest respect and thanks for helping us protect our land.
Jen, tell us a little bit. Obviously, you're living in the forefront. You're living the forefront. When will the war be over? It's more than one war. It's a physical war. It's a spiritual war. We've seen divisiveness. We now see people in Israel coming together. What can you say to the idea of Achdus and overcoming these battles that we're having as a people and a country?
I'm so glad, Felix, that you asked this. This is it. This is what it comes down to. Because one of the things Benyomin wrote about in his notebook, he wrote in this little notebook when he was in Gaza, and he said, the war that they're fighting, they're small people fighting this war. Meaning, he's talking about himself, soldiers. He says the only way to win the big war is with prayer. I will say that in almost every house in Gaza is a picture of Alaska. And that's what they're fighting for. They're not fighting for Gaza. They're fighting for Jerusalem. In fact, today, what did they say in the news with the soldiers, the Hezbollah from the north that were killed? They said they were literally in the news. It said, we mourn, the passing of whatever the names of their, Hezbollah terrorists are on the way to Jerusalem. They're fighting for Jerusalem. This is what they want. And the question is, I turn to all of Am Yisrael at this point. Do we know that we're fighting for Yerushalayim? Do you know that we're fighting for the Beit HaMikdash? And if we know that, then we'll realize every Yid, every Jewish person in all of Am Yisrael is fighting this war. It's not just the soldiers in Gaza or the soldiers up north or all along the territory. Every Jew has to fight this war because it's for all of us, because it's for Yerushalayim. And the way we fight this war is with our prayers and with our achdut, our togetherness and our acts of kindness. This is how we win this war. It's not just sending soldiers off to fight with a gun or with an RPG or that's not what any of this is about. And if we know that, we'll fight this war differently. And I think that's really where every Jew has a major, major job. And everyone can participate. And when you see, you were right. You're talking about achdut. I'm not going to lie. Before I was just in America for a week speaking. And before I went, I was so hesitant. I was hesitant for so many reasons. I didn't want to leave Israel. I didn't want to leave my family. There's a war. And what do I have to go speak to other, get somebody else. And once I got there, and I also kept thinking we're living this. What do you guys know, right? We're suffering. We're dealing with, sirens and every new, what do you have to worry about? And then I got there and I felt everyone's hearts. I felt people's tefillot. I felt their prayers. I felt their tears. I felt their hugs, said it all. I felt people really, really, really cared, heart and soul, not just because they were giving money or giving duffel bags and gathering gear and showing up, on missions. They actually felt pain. And I thought, you know what? We really are one. It doesn't matter where we are. We really are one nation. And I was so excited. I was on such a high seeing people feel so connected. And it's true. Our boys are the ones that are fighting here and our soul girls and all. Okay, when you're in Chutz La'aretz, some people really are still sending their children to the army. There are a lot of lone soldiers, but most are not. Okay, you're not risking physically. But in everyone's hearts, I thought, you know what? This is what this war is doing. Hashem created this massive achdut movement that no one else could ever orchestrate it but Hashem.
You're bringing up such a beautiful point. I think we brought up that the Jews who are living in Israel versus the Jews who are living in America and elsewhere, the Chutznakim versus the Artsachim, right? Those who are living in Israel versus those who are outside of Israel. And really, there's no difference. We are one people. Of course, we're all fighting for Yerushalayim. We're all fighting for our homeland. We're all one people. We're all one soul, one body. And I think that, as you said, unfortunately, sometimes it takes the challenges in order to unite us. As you said, there's never been such a unity movement of the Jewish nation as now. And our prayers are together. Our prayers are all recognizing that we are all one. Those Jews who thought they were Americans are realizing now that America doesn't really want them, right? And Israel is really the place for all of us, where it is all of our homeland. And I guess the final point to make is, physically, we may be in different places all around the world, but spiritually, we're all one. And we're all with you in Eretz Yisrael and with all of our soldiers and brothers there and sisters who are fighting for us and also who are praying for us. So I think all of us need to put our prayer in. So you're giving us some good lessons here. Number one is, don't wait to start learning the Shar Bitachon until you're facing a struggle with trust. Number two is that your prayers are needed now and your study is needed now. Everything you do now is going to contribute to bringing our nation together and bringing us closer to Mashiach and the third Beis HaMikdash. So maybe speedily in our days.
Amen. Right. We still need the action piece also, right? All the chesed, all the good deeds and treating each other nicely and all of that. Can I just say one more thing? Is that okay? It's interesting because, in Israel, a colloquial term for and they say this is, we got a letter from baby Netanyahu, all this. Whether he got it, whether he wrote it or not, I'm not. But we get these letters and this is, thank you for your son, defending the country, in the war, ala bayit. Like they say, like in Israel, it's a colloquial term that like for defending the home. What's the home, right? And you say like for the homeland, for the country, for the people, for the nation, like what? I think they don't even realize, right? They're calling it the bayit. That's what this is about. It's about the Beit HaMikdash. It's nothing. We can't, you asked the very first question, like, what's this, when's this war going to end? It can't end until we're ready to fight for the Beit HaMikdash. Like, we have to just fight like
Maccabees.
We've never been this close.
Like Maccabees.
This is it.
I'm not saying it just because my name is Mattiyahu.
We can't afford to go backwards. Not even a little bit. I was saying like every parsha speaks to us, every step along the way, we turn to the parsha and it's like, yep, that's what we're living with. Yep, tohu vavohu. Yep, the brothers. Yep, the brothers come together. Yep, every parsha, right? We've been living this year. I mean, it's always, but now we're seeing it so clear. And then Vayichan ki ishecha b'levecha, that was the parsha I was in America for. I was like, yahoo, like I get to see it and Kabbalah Torah. And then now, what Truma Tetzava we're building, right? Like yalla, like let's get on, let's. And I said, oy vavoy, if we go through Kitisa and there's a Chetayim, we cannot afford that. I understand there's also the Yud Gimel Midas Rabbah. I got it, but we can't afford to go there now. Like we're too far in the game. Bezrat Hashem, we're all going to stay steadfast and reach the finish line before anybody has a chance to think otherwise.
Amen. Jen, in the merit of Jewish women, the Yidden left Mitzrayim, and they say in the merit of Jewish women, we will have the final Geula. Maybe speedily in our days, Jen, you are an inspiration. You are one of those righteous Jewish women who are bringing the Geula and who will hopefully inspire us all to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash and not give up until we've accomplished our goal.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for sharing your story, your heart, your soul with us and with all of our listeners. I predict a lot of people that are listening will be additionally inspired by your words. So thank you for sharing.
If you need any more books or anything to support your shir, have you already started the shir or you're about to start the shir of Gate of Trust in?
I haven't figured out if I'm setting up chavrusas or doing it in chabura style or doing like an online thing. I don't know yet. Still sitting here just waiting to make that decision. I have to decide like time-wise what I can commit to. I have people who are, everybody's ready. Everyone's ready to go, but they want me to teach something. Like, but I don't know who am I to teach it. So I don't know. So
all it takes is the open book and the Zoom, and you can teach hundreds and thousands of women around the world. It would be really wonderful if you would do that, either in your community or for the greater community. Really wonderful.
It would be. I don't know why I'd be any more qualified than anybody else, but we're working on it.
All right. Let us know.
Okay. Cheers. I'll try and have an answer by the time this podcast is ready to go. How's that?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jen.
All right.
All the best. Have a good Shabbos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, so much for joining us today on the Gate of Trust podcast. Felix, what do you think?
It's amazing, given her loss, that she is with us in video. She's smiling. It would be hard to imagine in her shoes smiling even at this point. So it's clear that she has something special.
It's amazing. It's really incredible. In fact, it's almost as if there was never a tragedy. It was almost as if her son is still alive. It's almost as if she hasn't been through this roller coaster of news and emotions, and she's really so quickly transformed herself into being a giver and being somebody who can inspire others with bitachon, can inspire others with the importance of prayer, inspire others with us keeping our eye on the goal of building the Beis HaMikdash and never giving up and letting us know that we are all a unified nation. She's risen to the occasion to turn this tragedy into a lot of light, a lot of meaningful light to share with the world.
Yes. And it's interesting too, as you say, talk to her about Chavura, much like our great leaders and teachers like Moshe Rabbeinu himself. She's not sure that she's the right one to do it, which tells us she's exactly the one to do it. And it's that kind of mindset that we all need to have, where we are bittul and Hashem's in charge, and it shows on her and it radiates from her in a very special way. So really a special guest, and excited that we had the opportunity to meet her and to share her story with the rest of our audience.
Felix, why is this night different from all other nights? Speaking of bittul, I think it's about time to start cleaning the house for Pesach.
I think I think you're right. I think it's time. Order your feathers and candles now.
I think we have to get through Purim first. Before we start to eat
you know what?
bitter herbs of Pesach, let's have some simcha and yayin.
Let's be simcha.
Let's be simcha. We have 60 days of simcha this year, so let's make sure to make the most of each and every of the 60 days of simcha onto the greatest simcha.
But the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. That is.
I remember a joke about a watch. What was the joke about a watch?
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right. The other joke was, why would I want a daughter like mine to marry a guy like you without a watch?
Right. Without a watch. That's right. That's exactly
we're in reruns, right. Felix, already. We're in reruns.
We're in reruns. That's how you know your show's a success.
Amen. All right, Felix, have a great one.
Amen.
Can't wait to share this with the world.
All the best. Thank you, Matt. It's good to be back.
You too.
It's like we never left.
Thank you for listening to the Gate of Trust podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a rating, and share the podcast with the people you love. To access today's show notes, ask Matt and Felix a question, or suggest a Gate of Trust story to be featured on the show, visit gateoftrust.org/podcast.
You think you got it under control, you're on a roll, living it up, living your dreams. But when it all goes bust at the seams, then you scream and cry to the